After the success of Mega Man 2, Mega Man started to become a yearly franchise and a household name. Though these games are different from each other, but they're not enough for their own videos, so I thought I'd try a new approach and combine them all together. Mega Man 3 had a triple schedule with many targets and goals not being reached, like not having a title screen or an intro cutscene like Mega Man 2 and the other upcoming games. The story goes that Dr. Wily, after being evil and turning his ways, teams up with Dr. Light. Together they make a peacekeeping robot called Gamma. Wait, that's the wrong one. With 8 robots to help mining these crystals that the game doesn't mention once. Even some people say the game takes place in outer space. I guess maybe with Gemini Man's level. But the story is just all over the place with, manuals and how things were described back in the day. But anyway, the robots turn evil and it's up to Mega Man to stop them while fighting the new villain called Breakman. Mega Man 3 adds 2 new features that stay and one that thankfully goes. The 2 new additions are a slide and rush, taking a lot of inspiration from the items from the previous game. Rush has a coil, which is a spring where Mega Man can jump off, and Rush Jet, which allows Mega Man to skip a lot of levels by flying over them. He can also jump, which doesn't affect the meter. Shame it only works for this game though. The robot masters I like to take on in order is Snake Man, Needle Man to get Rush Jet, Gemini Man, Hard Man, Magnet Man, Top Man, Shadow Man, and Spark Man. I know this isn't the best or the weakness order, but it's what works for me. The stages this time have this one gimmick where Breakman will either fight you or help you out. I like how the game makes his intentions unknown and keeps you on edge as you don't know when he'll appear. Though I'm going to spoil it for this game made in the 80s. In Gemini Man stage, Hard Man stage, Magnet Man, and Shadow Man he'll appear. But here's iconic whistle before each encounter. He is easy, all he does is jump around and shoot, but in some stages he'll help you out. He'll help you by destroying level assets. The stages are very difficult and we have these annoying robots placed like these buff sniper Joe guys, but instead they will close their eyes and not take any damage. Maybe Mega Man should do the same or have a blindfold like Gojo Kakashi. My favorite stage is Snake Man, even though I'm scared of snakes. The stage is fun with these mini snake heads and then you fight these big ones as a mini boss. They're a bit like the dogs in Mega Man 2. Another one I like is Gemini Man's level, as it's pretty easy to farm items and with Rush Jet you can skip a few sections. Or with Marine. Now Marine doesn't really do much in this game so it's not really worth mentioning too much of what it does, it's just Rush Jet but for water. My least favorite is Hard Man with these bees and these monkeys that look like an early Goku design. It's a basic level, I just don't like the enemy placement. I guess called Hard Man is meant to be hard if you're pardon the pun, but the stage itself is kind of annoying. The robot boss this time in these games hit way harder. You do have to memorize the patterns of each boss, while some are predictable. Some aren't as easy or they just hit hard. But my favorite one to do Buster only is Needle Man, though some are very fair with their weaknesses like Needle Man again. While you can take out Shadow Man quickly, he can also take you out quickly as his weakness is Top Spin, which isn't programmed the best. I think Top Spin would have been better as a shield weapon instead of how it is in the final game. The backgrounds in this game are great within all the stages and it helps make each stage feel unique. Same with Mega Man 4 and 5. I like how the blue skies looks in this game, they make them very pretty. I like how mechanical Magnet Man stage is, and also starting out with what looks like to be evening or early morning. Snake Man, Hard Man, Top Man levels have some nice backgrounds within the sky and mountains in Hard Man stage. Snake Man, Hard Man, Top Man levels have some nice backgrounds, especially Hard Man with the mountains in the background. Though you only see the sky at the end of Snake Man's level, but before it's just bland with the dark green. My least favorite 3 is Shadow Man, as it's just a generic background with the light out gimmick from Quick Man stage. And after we beat the robots, we have this one new gimmick, the Dark Robots. The robots from Mega Man 2 return in 4 stages and we have to take them out. They have new weaknesses and you don't get any of the weapons from them this time around. The stages are just hard versions of normal stages with some differences and some reimagined level design. They're okay, but you only get 1 checkpoint after the first boss and before the second one. The level 1 bosses drag out in the game and it isn't fun at all with how boring or repetitive it can be. Going back to the older stages again. I'm glad it doesn't come back. I think instead of boss fights in the Wily Castle, they should either make rematches or the ones kind of like Game Boy games. But I don't mind them either way. The weapons you get are a mixed bag, some being good and some being like the top spin from earlier being a nightmare to use. I like Shadow Man's weapon and Magnet Man's weapon, though some also do tread like Gemini Laser, which is very slow to use. But before the Wily stages, we take on Breakman, and it's the same as the last few fights, though it's a small arena and after we take him out, we found Dr. Wily has taken Gamut up just to stop him now. The Wily stages this time around are easy. Wily will give us lots of items and the stages are very easy, not much trouble. If there is any, they're easy to skip like the blocks with Rush Jet and stuff. The boss fight stage is very easy as it doesn't hit hard and has these currents that will move you, not even hurt you, and new features use Shadow Blade that makes the fight really easy. Also Wily 2 can be skipped by Rush Jet, the only issues are the bees and the yellow devil refight from Mega Man 1. Thankfully he's way slower and with E-tanks, but we didn't have the pause glitch this time around. Wily 3 is tough because of the enemies and the placement, though thankfully it's a very short stage. In the boss you have to guess which was the right copy robot, and he goes down very easy. Interesting how another Mega Man 1 boss reappears with a new twist. Right before we do build stage, take down these rock robots, we do the boss rush again, and on to Wily fight with the crab boss. I was really struggling with this fight, it's really tough for me to beat it. We eventually beat the boss and find out it was a fake Wily with a slinky head. We move into Gamma. Phase 1 he's weak to the hard knuckle, and phase 2 the top spin. He can go down very easily with top spin, but we also have to rewind, so it makes it very easy for us to hit him. I mean, with position and skill we beat Gamma. The roof collapses on Mega Man and Wily get caught under, but Proto Man comes in and aura farms really quickly and leaves. In the epilogue we find out Proto Man returned us to Dr. Light. We will see the robots built by Dr. Light, the Mega Man 1 ones, Rock and Roll, and finally Proto Man. I think Mega Man 3 is a fine game, not my favourite but not my least favourite. I understand the game was rushed out, but in the state it's in, with the sprite flickering and some other issues, as I mentioned, the game is okay. My favourite has to be the soundtrack. The title screen rivals Mega Man 2's. Some of my favourites are the title screen, the end credits, and the stage select. I could keep going with more, though for the sake of time I won't. I do recommend listening to the OST, and the songs do fit the stages they're in. If you like Mega Man 2, the game is worth checking out. Next one to talk about is one of my favourites, and I'll always have to revisit and play it. Alright, time to start with Mega Man 4. The game begins with Mega Man's origin story and what led Rock to become Mega Man, and briefly mention that Dr. Wily lost 3 times. It's a bit weird now in the 4th game to start mentioning the origins of Mega Man, but alright, better late than never. The intro also mentions one new feature in Mega Man 4, the Mega Buster, which allows us to charge up our shot for more damage. Instead of Dr. Wily, we have Dr. Cossack, a Russian scientist who's out for Mega Man this time, and we'll find out why later on. The robot monsters this time are Toadman with a very easy pattern. Shoot him and he'll jump from side to side, and you can just cheese him like that. And after that is Brightman and Pharaoh Man with his weakness, who is also very easy. Then we have Ringman, who is a pain in the ass for me to beat and to deal with. He hits hard and his patterns are very hard for me to deal with, and also his stage is a fair challenge, but it can drag out, and I really don't like the mini bosses. Skullman, who is tough without his weakness, but is also very manageable with it. Then we go for Diamond, who is tough with his weakness, being Skullman. What makes Drawman very tough is Skullman's weapon, as you have to go up and personal, and Skullman's shield is, well, not the best shield to deal with in the series. And after that is Drawman, who also has a difficult fight with a weapon that isn't very good to use at all. He'll dig underground to surprise you, and if you slide around, he'll be very easy to dodge. What's also very nice is how much health he has and how much damage he takes. He is very tanky like Dive Man. And during that thing, I also forgot to mention Dustman, who was made by the artist for One Punch Man, Yusuke Murata. He also made one of the other Robot Masters, which we'll talk about later on in this video. Before we talk about the Cossack stage, let's talk about the new stuff Mega Man 4 brings in the stages. The stages can be felt like Toadman, Brightman, and Pharaoh Man. I like the ring gimmick in Toadman's, and I also like the weird bug feature to jump on Brightman stage. I think Brightman is my favourite level in this game. It's a fair and balanced challenge, though the end part does take practice and good timing. And also in some stages you can find specific items that help Mega Man. In Pharaoh Man's level you can find the balloon item, and in Diamond's level the hook. These items are okay. The hook is more useful for grabbing other items in levels like E-Tanks and 1-ups and stuff. Some stages are okay, like Skullman and Drawman. Skullman's level is fair and with a nice background though, goes from day to evening, and I just love when Mega Man levels do that. And Drawman level is pretty fun with the switch gimmick, which allows us to see platforms which gets progressively more challenging, but it's very presented, and using the skull shield, despite how bad it does help with the falling rocks in this level. Though since there's a switch gimmick that has dark and you switch to turn lights on, wouldn't it make more sense to be in Brightman's level? The last 3 levels I don't like as much. Dustman is okay, but it does drag out a lot with the section where you have to take out some of these parts and pieces to progress. I do like the background, they kind of look like chainsaws. Diamond is just tough because of the spikes in the enemies. My biggest complaint, especially around the game, is that the enemies don't drop much health, especially in this level, which makes some parts hard. But the mini boss is okay in Diamond's level, and not spam like in Ringman's level. In Ringman's level we have these really annoying mini boss gimmick where you have to fight these hippo guys, which can be fine, and also given some cheese and some weapon usages are easy to deal with. The ring was the biggest pain in the ass for me to deal with, and they show up a lot. Though I really do like the platforms that disappear. They're fairly implemented, but annoying towards the end of the level with the enemies, which makes the enemy placement towards the end of the level very annoying, and it does make me rush a lot and struggle with some parts in this level. We also have one new character that shows up in stages, Eddie, who will drop items, and if you don't like them, you can leave and try again, and you might get something you like. Rush also returns with both Marine, Jet, and of course the Coil, though the Jet is heavily nerfed as they patched the exploit this time around. Now on to the Cossack stages, and really going with the Russian vibes here. We start the snow forest taking out these spring enemies which hide in the snow. Later as the stage progresses we see more of the Russian architecture. The rest of the level is pretty simple, though some of the items like the hookshot and the balloons are mandatory for a few sections here. Fight this moth enemy that looks like something out of Godzilla. Use the boomerang and he'll go down pretty quickly. The second part is easy, especially with the items, as a lot of sections can be cheesed. There isn't much to say about the stage itself. The boss is annoying as you have to dodge these platforms and jump at the right time inside it to deal damage. And you didn't even take take that much damage even with his weakness. It's a real battle of patience. Well, our first and only auto-scroller to an extent, but that's for later on. It's a fine auto-scroller, better than the one that came from Sonic Forces. It's mainly just platforming and it's pretty easy if you just wait it out. The boss is weak to Pharaoh Shot, and it's another battle of patience. The final Cossack stage is up and it's very straightforward as the last level. Only the aim should really give you some trouble. Dr. Cossack is a little tougher with his crane machine. It will shoot out 3 bullets and pulls Mega Man closer to it, I guess with a magnetic crane. We find out his daughter Kalinka, who was kidnapped by Dr. Wily. After Proto rescues her and leaves, we find out Dr. Wily forced Cossack to fight Mega Man for her to come back. Now we have to take on Wily another time. The best way to describe Wily 1 is Metal Heaven. The stage is full of normal ones, dancing ones, and these swimming ones. And the boss for the stage is a giant metal. I really like this stage just because of the metals. The marine section is a little bit annoying, though the boss is weak to Pharaoh Shot and he'll drop other metals and jump around, but it's a very fun fight. Wily 1 was Metal Heaven, and now this stage is Spike Hell. Because this stage is full of instant death traps, the stage is fine when you know what you're doing. There's a lot of parts which are cheap and some level design choices that make it seem like a Mario Maker level who thinks random rooms that lead to nowhere is a good level design. Though I'm also guilty of this in Mario Maker. The boss is simple, just jump on the platform and shoot his head while dodging his attacks. Next up is the boss rush, and it's just the same as last time. I remember this one YouTuber called Clement, who is also still going on after these years, which is always great to see, always putting music over the rematches, which was cool. Shame I love all the videos are gone now. After the boss rematches, we make it to the boss. We deal with his attacks and some sprite flickering, which gets very annoying after a while. But spam Ringman's weapon and phase 1 is done. Then next we just spam Drillman, but be careful, you have to be very precise with your shots. We chase Dr. Wily, fight him in his capsule, and after running into him with Pharaoh Shot, we win. And after Dr. Wily raises his eyebrows and goes behind the door as Mega Man just sort of watches awkwardly. Fair enough. The big ace begins to explode in typical Mega Man fashion. Mega Man escapes, and we get the last train back home and watch the end credits. Mega Man 4 is one of my favourite Mega Mans. It learned from the first 3. It of course has its issues as I mentioned, but it does a lot right and with what it does and brings. I really do like the graphics and some of the stages. I really think this game is a top tier Mega Man game. I also like the new additions like the Charge Shot, Eddie, and even some of the bonus castles, which I don't mind too much. But I can see how it can get repetitive, and I hope they don't spam it every game. But well, we have Mega Man 5 and 6, and I think they'll tell us the answer. Though I do hope for less spikes and less mini bosses, of course. Also, the soundtrack is very good. Not like Mega Man 2 or 3, but it's still a good time to listen to. And also, as I mentioned earlier, the artist behind One Punch Man, Yusuke Murata, made Dust Man, and one more we'll eventually see in Mega Man 5, which is coming up in a few seconds.
A few moments later.
Actually. So after those few seconds, now it's time to cover Mega Man 5, and the best way to describe it is kind of like a filler episode if you've ever seen Naruto. One of those like mixed manga canon filler episodes, which, I mean, yeah, it does finish the Pro Man stuff, but most of it's just, especially with the gameplay, it's like, well, the same as Mega Man 4 and the other ones. It doesn't do anything too unique with this game. I will say the pixel art in the intro cutscene is very good, and I also like the I also gotta say the intro cutscene goes very hard, as this time Pro Man takes Dr. Light and we gotta stop him. In general, the pixel art is very good in this game. So like last time, we got 8 more robots, and these guys are very well filler designed. No offense to the designers, but some aren't, well, as unique as they could be. And also we got a nerfed Mega Buster and a nerfed Rush Coil to an extent. At this time Rush will become a sprint and you have to jump off him, and with the Mega Buster, if you're charging and you get hit, you'll lose the charge shot. So let's go talk about the boss order. So this time I go for one called Stoneman, but it really should be called Rockman, but I guess they kinda did that with the name of the Japanese version. And after I go for Charge Man, Gravity Man, Gyro Man, and that's a quite nice meal, not gonna lie. Well, Euro. Crystal Man, Napalm Man, who actually got the game banned in Vietnam due to what was happening at the time. Though I think the stage and the assets isn't really that, you know, controversial, but that's my opinion, but I can understand given the time frame this game came out. And I go for Wave Man and finally Starman. I didn't really go into weakness all this time, it's just kind of what works for me. The level design is also pretty solid, with some of my favorites being Stone Man, Gravity Man, Charge Man, and of course Gyro Man. The rest being okay. What really holds back Mega Man 5 is kind of the fatigue, especially when it came out, and you know, playing from Mega Man 1, 2, 3, and 4, and also the SNES was out at the time, so why are we playing this on the NES? Which is kind of strange. And Mega Man 6 would also come out a year later. So Mega Man 5 kind of has middle child syndrome. It's fine, but it doesn't add anything or stand out besides what refined what came beforehand, with the levels and the sprite work, and that's why I kind of call it a filler game to an extent. It's not bad, all it does is play it safe, which isn't bad, but if it was like the last NES or 8-bit Mega game, I think it would be a lot more unique and stand out. Though we do have to finish the Proto Man arc, so let's just go take out Proto Man. Proto Man 1 is fine. The white tigers are annoying, especially in Napalm Man stage. The boss we fight is Darkman, who just goes across the room and we jump over him and uses weakness, which is Waveman's ability. Also, I gotta mention the abilities that turn around aren't really that good, especially Stoneman's, but if you know what to do with Stoneman, it can be usable, but it's more, you just gotta know life the game like me. Even though I don't really play Mega Man 5 that much, but Alright, there's also one new mechanic I kind of forgot to mention, which is kind of fun. You've got to collect these items in the stages that spell out Mega Man 5 and you can get beats. It's kind of fun, but only you use them towards the final parts of the game. The Pro Man Tube is kind of like a Mario Maker level, but the boss is fine. He's also weak to Napalm Man and he grows legs this time, so woohoo! Pro Man 3 is a drag. I do like the snake block thing at the end. I don't like the enemy placement and how hard they hit. We fight Darkman 3 and this time he'll glue us. Use Gyro Man's weapon and some E-tanks if he has some, because he does hit hard. And if you are reckless, it's tip well. Pro Man 4 does something interesting as the stage is kind of like a puzzle as you have to figure out which platform to take out. The stage is very short though and we make it to Pro Man. Pro Man one-shots us until we realize the real Pro Man comes in a twist and it's Darkman 4, my gosh. Yeah, there isn't much story going on here. Shout out to the 8-bit era though. But now we also see a reveal, we gotta take out Dr. Wily again, yay! Wily 1 has this unfair spike trap at the start and this crushing section which is very annoying later on. The stage drags and the boss is fine, but it is kind of annoying. And the last few stages are tiring. The Wily 2 has this cool underwater section with a nice little challenge. The rest it has nothing really to say, it's kind of generic and the boss is annoying as you have to wait for him to open up and hit. My least favorite type of bosses in the Mega Man series. Next was the boss rush and we do that of course. And we go into Wily with to throw the shields at the perfect place, which is easier said than done. The final boss is weak to Super Arrow, which we get from and randomly from Starman level, one of the last robot monsters. But it isn't that useful besides just this boss. Then while he goes to his capsule, we use Beat and we rescue Dr. Light. Then while he decides to blow up the base, Mega Man catches the ceiling as Pro Man starts to save us, which is kinda cool, not gonna lie. We escape and watch Dr. Wily escape yet again. These games conclude what I call the Pro Man arc. Some great games and they conveyed the plot the best they could with what they had at the time. I think the best out of all of them is Mega Man 4 with what I mentioned earlier. Though we've only got one game to cover in the NES 8-bit era, and I think it's going to have its own video, as I would like to do the game justice as we tackle Mega Man's tournament arc in Mega Man 6. So if you did like the video, as usual, please comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.